So, of course, we take Leafs talk off that night because it's Ennis's 40th birthday. By the way, happy 40th to Ben. Today is his day. So reach out to Sportsnet Ben, at Sportsnet Ben, and wish him a happy birthday. It'd be very sweet of anybody that's listening to the show. Ben will be on tomorrow. I have Ben's 40th. Sam was off and heading down to have a Super Bowl weekend with the fellas. Had no idea that I was going to be taking it off too. I'm like, what's the harm? What's the harm that we missed one Saturday night game? Oh, yeah. Turns out that it's Battle of Ontario. Turns out that it ends with Ridley Greig becoming a notorious villain in the city of Toronto. Morgan Rielly doing, just the world's worst thing. Oh, how could Morgan Rielly do such a thing? Again, this isn't complicated, okay? I saw a lot of the discourse online because, again, I came back from Ben's 40th and I went, oh my God, I can't believe that this is what happened. And I'm trying to catch up with everything. And I'm looking at people and it's just the clutching of pearls that some people had with Morgan Rielly. Who says there's rules? Who says you can only score an empty net goal a certain way? Man, really, Greig did that to antagonize the Toronto Maple Leafs. Duh. You try to antagonize the other team and they're going to try to mess with you. There's actually, people say, has this ever happened before? This has happened before. This has happened in the NHL, okay? There's multiple clips of it. Guys getting a little too cute on empty net goals, and then what happens? There's a response. Now, does Morgan Rielly get the stick up too high? Duh. Can you cross-check somebody in the head, especially in 2024? No. Is he going to serve a suspension for it? Obviously. I don't think that he was going for his head. I think that he's going high on him. He's going for the shoulder. But hey, you go high and you miss, you pay the price. But this is a guy who in 11 seasons in the NHL doesn't have a suspension. So I think some people should probably cool it with the idea that this guy's just like a thug, a villain, a awful guy. But yeah, the Leafs, a team where everybody cries that they don't care enough, that teams walk over them. They've really got one guy, 44, Morgan Rielly, who you just can never question that about. Has all the playoff stats, elevates the way that he plays in the playoffs, always gives you the good quote. Guy absolutely gets it. And in that moment, he got it. And if not for a soft play by William Nylander flipping it towards the net, maybe he doesn't have to do that. But Morgan Rielly said, no, you're not doing that to us, not in our arena. And yes, that is the Toronto Maple Leafs arena. I think everybody knows it at this point. More people went home unhappy in that arena than went home thrilled with the way things ended. But yeah, it's pretty clear that he has to do something. Just what he did ends up kind of a bad break for them and a little over the line. But the idea that this is like some kind of big moment in the NHL of, I can't believe it. I can't believe Morgan Rielly. It's so soft. It's such, I saw all these things like a weak loser mentality. No, if you think that Morgan Rielly has loser mentality, I think that says more about you. The guy is a rock, and the Leafs are really going to feel the loss because that's going to be the story moving forward here is, can they survive without 44 on the blue line, a guy who's almost a point-a-game player for them, and far and away their best player on defense. Anyways, Matthew Barnaby, a guy who knows better than me, he can come on and tell me if everything I just said is wrong or if he agrees with some of it, because, you actually did have to try and enforce some rules. And you were also someone who aggravated and tried to bend those rules. Former NHL forward and author of Unfiltered. What's up, brother?
I'm good. I don't even think you need me, man. I can hang up. Everything you said is 100% true. And I know you're referring online to Twitter, and that's a cesspool of stupidity when anything happens in this world. Listen, we live in a soft world.
Dude, I tweeted it was the worst halftime performance ever yesterday because I didn't like it. And I'm actually an Usher fan. Like, I grew up in that era. I had people going like, I'll never see you the same way again. I was like, okay. It's like, I didn't like the halftime show, I guess. All right. Sorry for that. But anyways, go on. I agree with you.
I could tweet out that I love my kids.
Yeah.
And I'll get some idiot saying, I hope you die. Yeah. Like, I hope you die a slow death. And I'm like, dude. Block.
To be fair, it is you. So,
yeah. Yeah. So, but let's go back to the hit and the goal. There's no code. I wish people would stop talking about this so-called code. I played 15 years in the NHL, almost 1,000 games, and not once did I hear guys in the room talk about a code. Do you stand up for your teammates? It's just an unknown. It's just a known that you stand up for your teammates, or that's what you're supposed to do as, I think, a good teammate. But you don't sit around talking about oh, this guy can't shoot into an empty net, or like, do whatever you want. I'm the first guy that would have taken a slap shot if I'm playing the Toronto Maple Leafs and I'm playing for the Buffalo Sabres. I want to piss off those fans. I want to piss off those players and give our fans something to cheer about, because certainly Ottawa does not have a lot to cheer about.
Yeah.
And yes, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
So did I.
Create some rivalry, create some excitement. It's entertainment, and I 1,000% love what Morgan Rielly did. Now, I don't like the end result, and I agree with you. He didn't go trying to cross-check Greig in the face. He tried to hit him in the shoulder, and unfortunately, when your emotions and you're in the game and it's fast, sometimes you lose control of how high you go. He's going to be suspended. He's not a goon. He just stood up for his teammates. So I love the way it all played. It added a lot to the game, a lot to the entertainment value. It's everything we're talking about, but I love it from both sides.
Dude, having it really feel like we've been waiting for Battle of Ontario, and Sens can't get it together, and Leafs are not. Leafs don't have it together either. Like, they might be ahead of them in the standings, but you're losing to that team that's been in complete disarray on Saturday night. And this wasn't a game. Leafs, you want to talk about stuff, they're going to lose Morgan Rielly from a blue line that cost them that game with just a bunch of soft plays and bad turnovers and bad reads. Like, that was the secondary story of that hockey game is they sucked again back there. They did not look good. They didn't look tight. But to have Jacques Martin behind the bench and a memorable physical moment between these two franchises, and the Leaf fans in the building causing a ruckus, and Greig having a feel for the moment of, no, I'm not just going to tuck this in politely. This is the Maple Leafs. The fans that are here hate these guys, and they want to have us embarrass them a little bit. I thought it was great all around. Just, again, an unfortunate break for Rielly that it goes high, one that he'll be accountable for. But no, I think stuff like that is great for the game. Stuff like that is actually going to put more butts in the seats and make sure that people, the next time Ottawa plays Toronto, there's going to be more eyeballs on it.
Absolutely. It's entertainment, and that's what we talk about. And, we don't have the rivalries like we did in the 90s and the early 2000s, or going back to the 80s, because the physical element, and that's what a lot of times creates, obviously, good teams, two good teams that are in the same division create a rivalry, but we don't have the physical nature in the game that we did 15, 20 years ago. So when we have something like this happen, it's entertaining. And next game, it's going to be sold out. I don't care where it is. They could play it in Japan, and people are going to fly over there to watch the game, because now there's a storyline behind it. And that's what makes sports, is storylines, and obviously having those going into games certainly makes it a lot more fun. But these people on the internet that literally say you don't do that, you don't shoot a puck into a net like that, you just stop.
But I think it's both ways too, though. They're like, you don't shoot the puck in the net.
You want to.
Yeah, they're like, you don't shoot the puck in the net, but then they say you don't go after somebody and hit them after they do that too. It's like, no. He did it to piss them off, and he knew that was coming. He didn't think that he was going to look over his shoulder, not see anybody come over and try to get in a scrum with him. It's just that he probably was expecting a fist instead of a stick.
Hey, I'd go snap with my finger to my brother when we were younger. He's 14 years older, and I snap him in the ear. Listen, I was trying to piss him off. Yeah. But did I know I was getting a beating right after? Absolutely. Yeah. But I was willing to do it to piss him off.
Yeah, exactly. You were ready. You knew that there was going to be a price to be paid. There's no way that if you gave Greig the truth serum and said, hey, after you shot that puck, what did you think was going to happen? He'd be like, oh, I just thought I was going to skate off the ice, and they would shake our hands after and say, good game, have a good night, everybody get home safe. Like, duh. Obviously, it was going to happen that way. So, yes, you're right. There's no codes, there's no things, but it's just unwritten. It's just the unwritten. And it's not even rules, because I don't even like saying that. But it's just, you just know
what's going to happen.
Yes.
You just know what's going to happen.
You know when you're trying to antagonize somebody that they might take it poorly. And you also know when someone does antagonize you, especially publicly, that you feel a little bit more pressure to hold that person to account for their action. Duh.
Yeah, and if Greig has that breakaway against the Arizona Coyotes, does he do it? Probably not.
No, hell no, he doesn't.
Probably not.
No.
But it's the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yes.
They have 3/4 of the building is in blue and white. Like, the players don't like that. I didn't like playing in Buffalo when I love when Toronto came into town, but I didn't like seeing our stands full of blue and white. It's frustrating for the players, and that was his way of getting back to them.
So it's going to be an in-person hearing for Morgan Rielly, which I think gives the options of 6 games or more. What do you think he gets?
I think it's a very similar, but because it is premeditated when he goes after him, right? Mm-hmm. It's not a reactionary thing. I think he gets 5 games, and for a guy that isn't dirty, it's a tough one. But I think you look at a guy like Perron, who got 6 games. I just think because it's predatory, after he had time to think about it and he went right after him, deliberate cross-check. Again, I think we agree, and most of us agree, that he didn't try to get him in the face, but he got him in the face. Yeah. So for that, it's 5 games for me.
I think that's probably right. I do think that this is a situation where the 11 years in the league has to matter, right? The 11 years in the league. This is a guy who earlier in the season, people were going, oh, is he going to win the Lady Bing, right? So to me, that context has to be taken into account here. Every time I see the video from that one angle, it just really does look like Greig moves slightly, and that allows the stick to ride up into his face. Again, reckless, dangerous, all these different things. I really hope the league doesn't throw the book at Morgan Rielly, considering a bunch of the circumstances, and that they do take a few of those things into play. I know they got to protect guys' head and neck area. Yeah. I know whenever you have an opinion like this, people just say that, you don't care about player safety because they're white knighting for players who aren't asking for you to white knight for them. But yeah, I think I would lean a little less. I would hope for 3, but that's probably also me saying I don't want to watch Leafs hockey games without him on the blue line. Like I don't know how they survive it.
I could see as low as 4, and I could see as high as 6. I think we're all in the same range. Yeah. And obviously, you have a different opinion being in Toronto and knowing that team, what they're going to look without Morgan Rielly. It's a completely different team, and this is not perfect for him. But Leafs fans that maybe cry about him sometimes, you're gonna realize how damn good this guy really is.
No man, they're. Like, again, this is a team where the number one story right now, like from a roster construction standpoint, is they need a defenseman that can slot in at the very top and push everybody down. Because everyone on the team, except for Morgan Rielly, right now, is playing above their weight class. Like, they're punching up.
It's funny you bring up slotting because it's my number one thing in building a team. Detroit, I thought, did it masterfully for my whole career of having guys like sign there, when they were a little long in the tooth and slide in perfectly. You take a guy like Daniel Cleary, plays 4th line. Now he goes to another organization like Edmonton back in the day, and they bump him up to the 2nd line. Well, he's not a second liner. But he fit in perfectly on the 4th line. So your point on slotting is absolutely right, because when you start playing, against people you shouldn't be out on the ice against and playing more minutes than you should be playing, that's when teams and players get exposed.
Yeah, and that's been a big story of the Leafs season. And, before I talk to you more about their actual team, I just want to say, too, with my last thing on the Rielly thing, because I was just thinking about it now. You brought up, does he do that against Arizona, right? Does Greig slap it in the back of the net against Arizona? Like, no. Does Rielly react that way on a normal given night? You're the NHL. You've been dying for rivalries to return. And, like, you changed your entire playoff structure to encourage more rivalries happening because you're losing them from the game. Because that is part of the byproduct of having a less physical hockey game year over year, younger players. There's not as much animosity and hate between the teams as there once was. There just isn't. And so you want to have Toronto-Ottawa be a draw. You can't just have it be a skills competition. It can't just be up and down hockey, 2 teams scoring. There's got to be a physical element. There's got to be a chippy element if you want the product to be as best as possible, because that is, you want to look down on the ice, or you want to look down on any playing surface if you're a fan and think that the players care more than you do. Like they have more at stake than you, that you in the stands don't care more, that you don't have more emotionally invested in it. And so you have a play like that again, goes against Morgan Rielly. But my thought of you throw the book at him and you're putting this on 6 games or whatever, maybe it ends up even being more. I doubt it, right? And given the history, but let's say it's 6 games. It's like, yeah, this is the memorable moment that people are talking about. This is the physical play. This is the juice between these 2 teams where they hate each other. And now you're making, again, maybe you're just saying be more responsible. I hate couching this, but I hate the message that it does send, too, which is, hey, if a guy does that to you, find a different way. Be a little softer about it. Be a little bit more calculated in the moment. While the rest of the league is telling you, we've got to find a way to make people care more about these games because we have too many rivalries that are going away.
I understand, but obviously you can't cross-check a guy in the face. Yeah. And you know that. I understand where you're going there, but if it was me, the gloves would have been shed right away. I would have jumped on him and started punching.
Yeah, that was his mistake. He really just should have jumped him.
And is punching a guy in the head 10 times,
I know,
less than cross-checking? I don't know.
I know.
I know a lot of guys, if you jump on them and guys that, if Reeves jumps on a guy and punches him 10 times in the head, he's probably getting 10 games.
Yeah.
But just because of his past and what he's done and who he is and how he plays. But yeah, that's what I would have done. I would have sent the message without cross-checking him in the face.
So, do you think the Leafs are any good?
I think they're okay. I don't think they're a Stanley Cup contender, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, they're just fine. Like they're
fine. They're fun to watch. Again, the same conversation. None of this matters till they get to April, and that's where we judge them. And that's where you judge teams that are supposed to be Stanley Cup contenders. But no, they're okay. They're not great, and they're above average. They're a good hockey team in the NHL.
Yeah, I just you look at the standings. I think they're 7th now in the Eastern Conference. They're just. They just don't feel like there's anything about them that is overly special outside of the same thing year over year, where it's, hey, they have Matthews and Marner who can create, and they did again in that game. Yeah. The second line has sort of disappeared since Nylander got the contract. They haven't been the same. Just a fact. Like people can get mad about it, but they haven't had the same impact. Nylander hasn't been carrying that line the same way. The signings that they haven't had one that's over delivered outside of depth ones. Like, yeah, they've gotten a little bit more than they probably expected from Noah Gregor. It's not having an impact night in, night out. They've gotten more than they expected from Martin Jones. Okay, but that's run its course. We saw that in that game. They got more than what's expected from Simon Benoit, but ultimately you're hoping that he's your third pairing defenseman, right? Not that he's running out there and being your second pairing. And it's another game where, and I recorded it, and it's different when you're watching a game and you do know the result of it, because I feel like you're looking for reasons why they lost. But this has just been my feeling all year long. Is just you can't trust them. Like the Sens are bad. You watch that team a lot. This has been a dysfunctional season for Ottawa, and then they play the Leafs. And I don't care if it's a Saturday night and the energy is up and whatever in the building. You got to take care of those crappy teams. You got to put them to bed and just grab the 2 points. And again, you're in a dogfight now with Detroit for being a number one wild card team.
Yeah.
So
go back to Detroit in the 90s. They never lost to bad teams. Like they just didn't. They took care, like you said. When you play bad teams, you take care of those. And the good teams really know how to get up for those games and dominate them, just pocket those 2 points, because there's enough games in the league. Not that the bottom teams can't beat a top team, but the really good teams, they just don't lose to those kind of teams. And Ottawa's just a fly-by team. They go offense, and if they outscore you and everything's working for them that night, they win. But most nights, defensively, they just aren't a good team. They're a young, inexperienced, and a team that doesn't know how to win. And when you say, the building's jived up and electric, it's all Leaf fans. It's all Leaf fans.
Hey, buddy, thanks as always for coming on. Congrats on the huge win, and congrats to me, too, because, yes, we never wavered on our Chiefs.
Never wavered. Keep up the good work, buddy. Talk to you soon.
See you, pal. Matthew Barnaby.